Hello and welcome to the Monster Painter. This time I repaint some old D&D pre-painted models. Ugh. Alright then, I have taken this selection of pre-painted Dungeons & Dragons models from way back in 2003 when Wizards of the Coast were manufacturing them before that job shifted to WizKids, who does it today. They're all cool models, but with some uninspired paint jobs. I can't imagine a Chinese toy factory being a creatively inspiring setting. I don't strip them down, I just add some more paint. Now let's see if I managed to improve them. First up is this giant centipede. He illustrates one of the classic problems with pre-painted miniatures. He is painted with just two flat, uninspiring colors. And that orange on the underbelly is pretty acidic and extreme. Really, all this poor bug was sent out into the world was with a simple base coat. A perfectly functioning base coat, but just a base coat. But with a couple of washes and a bit of dry brushing, this terrifying predatory arthropod is ready to menace the tabletop. Giant insects are perfect monsters for all manner of settings, and this fellow is as likely to end up as a bile worm in Stargrave as he is to be a grim menace in a classic dungeon crawl. I'm not sure my efforts made much of a difference on this pathetic Dretch. He has a little bit more texture and a little more form. The details are a bit crisper, but the main problem with this loathsome demon is how the arms fit into the hands. It's kind of awkward, but I didn't like the model enough to put in the effort to style that up. Oh well. Dretches themselves are pathetic minor demons who wallow in self-pity and contempt and are likewise viewed as next to useless by the demons higher up in the infernal hierarchy, or I guess abyssal hierarchy. Dretches are wretches, and no one likes them, not even themselves. Now, I am confident that my repaint of this model made a difference. The original paint job of this vampire thrall used the color black like a crutch. I find black is a tricky color to use on tiny little miniatures and is best used very sparingly. I understand vampires are supposed to be grim, gothic monsters, but you can get the same blood-sucking horror feel with a color scheme that will look much more exciting on the tabletop. Now, this poor thing has some other problems other than being the slave of an unfeeling monstrosity. Her pose is a little awkward, and she has some unlikely proportions on her arms. But you know, I think we can forgive all that and let her try to devour the player characters. Okay, so the twirling video makes this fellow look a little washed out, and you can't really make out the differences my very effective changes made. I gave his armor a black wash and added some dry brushing to the cape and crisped up the details, and I assure you it's made a difference! Honest! He is a human blackguard, or what us first edition grognards would have called an anti-paladin. They are classic campaign antagonists, great for every level and any challenge, and this wacko is really leaning into the role. He's a great model, and when I look at him, I can't help but think these Fey Arts Council Shakespeare productions are just getting weirder and weirder. Maybe I have to start rethinking my lighting. I added some dry brush layers and a wash to bring out the texture and the forms. I also used some interference paint to pick out the runes on this rune-carved eidolon. But you know, I'm not sure it made much of a difference. Oh well, live and learn. An eidolon is a monster comprised of a ghost trapped in a specially created statue. They are intended as the guardians of diabolical places of worship, which is a classic locale for heroes to raid and loot, so naturally, excitement will follow. Now, I am much more confident that my efforts at improving this little goblin's sneak have been effective. The main victory is simply increasing the contrast between the little twerp's various parts, making him a much more exciting model on the tabletop. And, picking out the details also helps. Now, of course, this villainous little pest fits in well as an enemy in any Dungeons & Dragons game, or any other kind of dungeon crawler, really. But if you're like me, and you run a lot of Goblin Orc warbands in Frostgrave, this little goon is great. Crossbow-wielding inhumans are a little hard to find, and so another such model is always welcome. He is sure to get hired by a cruel witch to fight for treasure in the frozen city. Here we have a wee blue dragon wormling. While I did give the wormling's body a dry brush of light blue to bring out the forms and the textures, the main improvement was to simply pick out the details: the eyes, the mouth, and the horn. It is surprising how these small details can really make a model look so much more convincing. Another thing I find surprising is how much the morphology of dragons in Dungeons & Dragons has solidified over the years. Back in the day, the only thing that identified the various dragons was their color. The forms were all over the place. Nowadays, a blue dragon has a pretty specific morphology that you can identify regardless of what part of their life cycle they are in. I'm starting to think you will get the best results repainting the complex models. Pre-painted miniatures are by their very nature rushed paint jobs. This can be fine on a simple model, but on models with more details, rushed work really shows. So pick out the details, add some color here and there, and bang, you get a very satisfying improvement. This Tiefling really shows the difference. Tieflings are probably the most popular and exciting addition to the Tolkien-esque array of Dungeons & Dragons playable species. Ostensibly humans, but with an ancestral lineage tainted by contact with infernal darkness, they make the perfect player characters for those with a taste for edginess. This bugbear vividly demonstrates the problem with rushed factory paint jobs. That problem is sloppiness. An essential truth of miniature painting is a tidy approach makes for a better result. So, clean up the details, cover up the overused black, and you get a model that goes from meh to wow, what fun! I love this model with his big mace and very handy shield. His new color scheme has accidentally tapped a He-Man villain vibe, which is extra fun. He will definitely be getting work as a beast at arms in a future Frostgrave warband. Yep, as our friend Urthok the Vicious demonstrates, it's mostly a matter of cleaning up the edges, covering up the sloppy, picking out the details, and you can really improve a model. In fact, if you're just starting out as a miniature painter, I recommend you get some badly painted pre-paints and fix them up. This process will show you the kinds of details you need to look for when you're trying to create fun tabletop miniatures. As for Urthok the Vicious, his name indicates he's some sort of character, an NPC model for sure, but I couldn't find anything on him, so he's going to be relegated to being just another hobgoblin goon. Speaking of hobgoblins, this Hobgoblin Impaler demonstrates another classic problem with pre-painted miniatures. Absolutely insane color choices. Apart from the strange and very bland choice of brown for this villain's armor, the bright red weapon looks extraordinarily silly. Maybe they were going for battle gore, but if they were, they really missed the mark. It's truly amazing just how far sensible color choices will go in improving a miniature. Now, he is described as a Hobgoblin Impaler, and I'm not sure if that means he works for Vlad Tempst, or conversely, he's a professional vampire hunter. Either way, I will be hiring him as a hobgoblin at arms for a future Frostgrave warband. Ah! Real monsters! Okay, wait. So we finally come to this abyssal maw, and she demonstrates the final lesson. The old pre-painted Dungeons & Dragons miniatures have a lot of great sculpts. Sculpts you cannot find otherwise, so it can be a good idea to look past their shabby paint jobs. All you have to do is touch them up, and you could have yourself an awesome model without too much effort. Now, abyssal maws appear to be the embodiment of the deadly sin of gluttony. Motivated by an endless hunger and endlessly voracious, they consume everything they encounter. And here I thought they were just vagina dentatas. And there you have it. A set of 12 Dungeons & Dragons pre-painted miniatures touched up and repainted. Some of them massively improved, and others not so much. Still, I am happy with the result. They are all ready for tabletop adventure now. With that finished, I think it's time for a monster fight. Tonight's monster fight features this demonic manifestation of gluttony itself. He is as hungry as Homer at an all-you-can-eat shrimp buffet. Verse all comers! A motley mob of men and monsters prepared to overcome the diabolic appetite. Now, let the old bones sort out this crazy meal. Ooh-wee! Wow, what a mess. Well, at least it's not going to take very long. And there you have it. Unsurprisingly, gluttony has devoured everything. Super cheap. Thrift store dragons. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Watching Les the Monster Painter.